But number one, first and foremost, is we love guys that like to compete.
We started up that group. One thing led to another. Now we got 15,000 people in there, but it's predicated off rivalry.
I think we're going to continue to dominate. I think we've got the right model. We've caught the Russians, and I think that it's just going to be from, we're the feared ones now, not the Russians and the Iranians anymore.
What's up, everybody? John Forster here, breakdown from the barn. We're on episode 48. With me, as always, the greatest mind in wrestling, Eric Winnuck. We also got from the Scramble, Mike Kinder, as well as Wisconsin has head coach Chris Bono. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me as well.
Hey, awesome having you both on, man. It's great. So Mike, I want to start off with you. You got the Scramble going. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that site on Facebook? I've been enjoying it. Why don't you talk a little bit about that to kick us off?
So a couple of guys a while back ago, we were on a different Facebook group actually, and we actually got kicked out of it. We, my hype with Penn State. I was saying some Penn State things. I asked you before if we can get some curse words on here, so I'll save my curse words. We said F Iowa quite a bit, and there's a few groups in there that just censor you. They don't let you, talk a lot, or if you say something that's really not in their code, they'll kick you out or block you or things of that nature. So we actually got kicked out of a group. So myself, Coder, Mark Husser, T Hep, Justin Caladon, Hunter. A bunch of guys were like, you know what? Hey, let's start something where you can pretty much say what you want. Obviously there's some things that you can't. We're not going to let you say crazy off the wall things but we're not going to censor you either. So pretty much we started up that group. One thing led to another. Now we got 15,000 people in there, but it's predicated off rivalry. So a lot of people think our sport needs more people to watch. We don't get enough attention. And when you think of the greatest sports stories, you think rivalry every time. So that's really what the Scramble is predicated. We want to create rivalry. We want to create that traction, and everybody, talk some trash, get the sport growing. So that's actually where I met Coach Bono.
So it's funny you talk about the trash and getting rivalries going. You mentioned Iowa, because not that we want to get into this.
I can't stand them.
But from Iowa, we're going to get into some of the tournaments later. But just some crazy stuff going on. So talking about recruits and Coach Bono, this is for you. When you think about the question comes from Pat Ryan, but it's a good question in general, especially coming from South Dakota State. You've obviously, Coach Seth Gross are looking for, now that you're in the Big Ten, you're in Wisconsin. Is there a specific type of wrestler you're looking for?
Well, that's a good question, and we get that a lot. But when you look at the athletic side of things, we look at a lot of, obviously we're recruiting great wrestlers, right? But there's some things that separate some wrestlers. And, I could give you the political answers, but number one, first and foremost, is we love guys that like to compete. And I don't mean like just wrestling all the time, in everything they do, where it matters to them, right? Even academically, they're competing to get the best grade in the class. I think that's bred in you. I think that becomes the great ones want to win everything they do. And when you get a kid that's got that kind of mentality that, second place is not good enough, and they'll do whatever it takes to get to the top of the podium or at the top of the class, or, to be the best citizen, that's the kind of kid we like. We like that inner drive, the guy that's never satisfied. First and foremost, obviously, right, what goes along that, and I'll every school in the country will tell you, academically sound kid, a great kid off the mat. But the one thing that we like is that great wrestler who has that ability to just want to compete in everything they do.
Yeah, good stuff. And speaking about on the mat and being out there and competing this past weekend, had a couple of champs, had an MVP performance, and I know John was texting me. He's like, "Man, he's growing. He's growing." So let's talk about that performance at Midlands, and specifically Hamiti's performance.
Yeah, well, just to let you know, your mic is cutting in and out, so I'm catching
cutting out, man.
I'm catching some things. You want to know about Hamiti's performance at Midlands, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what, he came back from Christmas, and he's a man on a mission. He's very upset about the losses he took to Carr and to Olenek from Oklahoma State. And it was he's close with both those guys. He's looking to make a breakthrough, but his performance at Midlands, obviously, he didn't get an offensive point scored on him all weekend. I don't even know if he got
Indeed, baby.
I don't think he got a point scored on him. 3 falls, 2 major decisions, I believe, in his 5 matches. He's growing, right? He's growing, and he's getting better every day. And I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the second semester.
Sometimes you need those losses.
Yeah, I agree, right? And I'm glad he took him early because he's going back to the drawing board. Yeah, he's going back to the drawing board, and he's really redefined what he does, and he's been working his tail off. So it's going to be a fun second semester here.
Yeah, he's definitely someone to look at to, get to the top of the podium at the end of the year. And let's talk about your other champ, Shane Liegel. I mean, he came in a very low seed. What were your expectations with him coming into Midlands? He really had a great performance.
Yeah, so Shane Liegel is a legacy kid. Dad went to school, wrestled for the Badgers. His brothers wrestled for the Badgers, and he's a Division III national champ up at Loras College, and he's a post-grad. I'll tell you what, he's one of the best kids I've ever been around in my life. His work ethic is unmatched. He's got a 3.9 in business analytics in grad school. He's an ultimate team player, treats his teammates unbelievably well. Really quiet kid who just works his tail off. So I think he can beat anybody, right, with his work ethic. And, I think this weekend really showed him how good he can be. He had a great weekend out in Jersey in Pennsylvania, a couple weeks ago, and we had him wrestling up a weight at 197. So he's back down to his original weight. He's got some tricks in his bag, and he wrestles hard, and he doesn't stop. So very, very, very happy that he got to the top of the podium. And just, man, we gotta ride this thing as long as we can. I'd like to see this guy be an All-American at the end of the year, and I think he's got the ability to do it.
Yeah, he was looking good in that tournament. And then speaking of an All-American, you got 2-time All-American Eric Burnett, took a loss there, but came back, battled back to take third. What do you think about his performance and what he's coming to at the end of the season?
Yeah, Eric, Eric bonused almost everybody in that tournament as well. That loss he took, it is what it is. At the end of the day, at the national tournament, he's going to be in contention to win this thing. So, he's very hard to wrestle. He's good on top. He's good on bottom. He's good on his feet. He can pin you from anywhere. And he's a warrior. So that's a bad combination to have to face at the national tournament. And, he's our guy. I love the little dude. He was our first recruit that we were able to get when we took the job here. And now he's engaged. He's going to graduate. It's pretty cool to see what happened to him in the last 5 years.
Mike, let's talk about, your coaching at Elite Wrestling. What do you say about that program, coming up? A lot of hammers coming through those doors. What's your thoughts there?
I love it. I actually started going back there because like about 3 years ago, my cousin he's been going to Elite, actually recommended Elite back when he was, 7. I had the privilege of being with Steve Rivera since before Elite even existed. It was Tom's River Wrestling Club. Vinny Delfov was maybe 3-4 years old at that point. He was my teammate. A bunch of Frankie Edgar would roll around over there. My brother, we grew up all the Tom's River kids. So it was originally Tom's River Wrestling Club. We were winning Jersey Shore League. He always just trained winners, and then it just went to Elite. So I've been with Steve since I was 5. I'm 35 now, so I've known Steve 30 years now. But I love it. It's crazy to see the transition because when he first started, it was high school state titles, national titles, and now it's transitioning even there to world titles. You got Paulie Kenny over there winning world titles. You got Alex Ninny. He's with Team Italy. Julian George, a Wisconsin Badger with Team Puerto Rico. It's really growing into even world titles there, and that's because they have an Olympian also coaching with Sebastian Rivera. Again, when he started, he was he was a little kid, 2 years old. I remember him when he was a little baby almost, and just rolling around on the mats. And now he's going to be in Paris. And these kids don't realize how lucky they are to have an Olympian every single practice, showing them the work ethic to be what it takes to be an Olympian. And that's what Steve Rivera preaches. That's what Sebastian Rivera preaches. Vinny Delfov. You got, Mikey Slays is there. Hayden Hiremack is there. You got Jalen Ramos. You got all good guys, Jimmy Lawson. NJ greats, and that starts with Steve and the mentality that he breeds. It's no bullshit. He's straight up with you. He'll tell you how it is. He'll tell you what it takes to be a champion, and that's Steve, and that's embedded in every single one of his wrestlers from when they're there to when they're grown up and living their adult lives. It's Steve Rivera, and one of the best in the country.
And what I like about those guys, especially Sebastian, if you go to the summer tournament, so we were at a couple of freestyle junior tournaments with my son and a couple of the wrestlers. He's out there on the mat and he's kind of going over things, and he's kind of sitting down doing an instructional thing. And somebody of his level doesn't have to do that. And you see Steve, he's at all, even it's not just the big tournaments. These guys just don't go to Super 32 or some of the big ones. They're at local tournaments too. So to me, that's a lot of dedication, and that shows a love for the sport. I think it speaks exactly what you're talking about.
Hey, let me tell you a little story about Elite. I go out to the Jersey Shore to go on vacation a little bit. And my man Kinder here's we're in town, invites us over to Elite. Well, Coach Reeder and I are trying to, we bring our wives, we're trying to enjoy ourselves for once, but we get an invite to go to Elite. So we gotta go over there. And of course, they say, put your shoes on. We go out there and I look over at Mike Kinder and he's wrestling Jimmy Lawson live. And I'm like, first of all, too, it's like 420 degrees. First of all, it's 420 degrees in there too, right? And it's in the middle of summer. And I look over and Kinder gets to this guy's leg and Jimmy Lawson sprawls on him. And I swear I thought Kinder was dead. You couldn't even see Kinder, right? Jimmy was on top of him. And I got a little worried from my man Mikey. I looked over there and he popped right back up and got in Lawson's face. And I'm going to take you down one of these days. So
that's
Mikey,
right.
Have you got one yet on him?
Not yet.
He's trying. He's fighting with it,
When I'm with the story with Bono saying, I hear Goody in the back because Goody was also there. I hear him in the back say, "Win the day, Kinder! Win the day!" Because I had the Wisconsin Win the Day shirt on for the boys, and that's all I hear in the background as Jimmy's crushing me. But you got to go for it, But again, that's the Steve mentality. You can't back down from nothing,
They get after it there, man. I went in there once when I was training for a MMA fight, and they were brawling, they were scrapping. It was great,
And it was hot, wasn't it?
Oh, it was hot. Yep, it was hot. They were getting me going. Matt Pletcher was taking it to me. It was a good time. So here's a question that came in. Both you guys might be able to answer this one. This was a good one I just got today from Vincent Pizzo. He just took over a program. Got dropped. So it was dropped for a couple years, and he's trying to build it up, a high school program. Said he went from 5 kids to 15 kids. What advice would you give someone who's trying to build a new program at a high school?
Go ahead, Mike. You can start off.
I honestly think you just got to market it to everybody around you. You got to just, go around the school when school's going on, go to the classes. Hey, we got a wrestling team, maybe show some videos, go to the football team, go to all the sports, go to the athletes, because in reality, if you have a good athlete, you can teach them some wrestling if they're a good athlete. So, go to the football games and say, find the kid that, looks the most athletic, go to him, say, hey, try out for wrestling. I think you're going to be great. Go to, any sport, just go around, market it, show some videos. I commend it. Honestly, it's happening a lot with women's wrestling too, because now there's women's teams out there, and that's starting from scratch. Some teams, have it's hard to get the girls to come out and wrestling for obvious reasons. They don't want to. They want to, not wrestle. But you get them there and you start it, and it's all about the marketing, really, as in anything.
And I think our sport gets a very bad rap to high school kids who don't really understand the sport. Hey, they got to put that. I'm not putting that singlet on, right? It's not what society accepts. So I think you just got to make sure that you understand. You got to let them know how great the sport is. You got to be able, like Mike said, recruit a couple of kids in there, and then once you get some people in there, right, you got to be able to show them some moves, but you also got to let them have fun with it a little bit too. You know what I mean? And then of course, get those kids some great gear. You give some kids some cool gear walking around school. Shoot, you might have 100 kids on your team after you get a nice T-shirt.
Yeah. It's funny, Mike. I want to pick up what you were saying about going out and finding athletes, because I think a lot of coaches miss that boat. They're so concerned about finding kids who wrestle for 4 or 5 years. Now, I wrestled for a legend in high school, Fred Stuber at Rahway High School. And it's funny because we were just talking about this. I was
Darian Caldwell.
Yep.
Darian Caldwell, man, that kid came out in sixth grade, by the way. He was a football player. Just so
That was
everyone.
my era. Him, Mike Gray, all those guys.
Yeah, he didn't
Frankie
start
Molinaro.
kindergarten like these guys. But what Stu was good at, not to pump my old coach, but he'd be out there in gym class and he'd be scoping the room. He's like, I'm gonna grab that kid, get him on the pull-up bar. He's like, you ever wrestle before? Nah, coach, I got some friends who wrestle, but no. He goes, no, come out next week. I want to see you on the mat. And he would find guys who were athletic, okay, who had a tough nature about themselves. And as Coach Bono was saying, people who are like to compete in class and in gym class, he'd get him in there. Within a year, he's got a 500 record and he's plugging him in the lineup. So I think that's a solid point, and I think a lot of coaches lose face of that. You don't just recruit the wrestlers from the youth program. Find guys who are athletes, maybe didn't make it in basketball or something. So I think that's spot on, Mike.
Yep.
So real quick, going back to you, Coach Bono, I mentioned Seth Gross earlier. Tremendous Olympic run. Why don't you talk about that? And what does he have to do to make the team going forward? And just what's Seth Gross' future going forward? Because he's come a long way in the last several years.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that obviously 61 kilos not in the Olympic Games, right? So he's kind of caught in between weight classes. 57 is a very, very, very almost impossible weight cut. And 65, he's obviously a little bit small for the weight. But obviously, after the U.S. Open, I think he showed himself that he could hold his own against, the strongest and best guys in the weight class. So, he's very, very unique to wrestle. He's hard to wrestle. So if you've never wrestled him, it's a way different feel than you've ever felt from somebody. But he's just got to fine tune some things. He lost his first round match. I think it's just, he hasn't competed in a long time. So obviously we're going to get him some more matches before the trials. He's going to France here this month and competing overseas. And then we'll try to get him one more simulation tournament before the trials and make sure that he's in competition mode. Seth Gross is a guy that likes to wrestle every single day. He wrestles every single day. He drills every single day. So when you go without competing, I think you get in that practice mode a little bit. It's like, it's all right to get taken down and it's all right to get gut wrenched instead of like, you get taken down and gut wrenched, you're down 4-0. It's pretty, it could get ugly real quick in a competition. And so I think he'll be ready. This is his dream to make this team. And, 66 kilo or I'm sorry, 65 kilo is an extremely tough weight. And, he'll be ready to roll.
And that's what's crazy about Seth. You mentioned he can be down 4-0. I mean, how many times has he been down? He just some wacky stuff, man. I mean, how many matches have we seen 12-11, 15-14? Okay, that's Seth. And it's at some point, I think it's in the past, but it would be so nice to have 10 weight classes back in the Olympics. I think it's a shame that it got cut from 6, because my next question is, and Coach, you being, your background and being part of the world team, and my youth, I remember that 88 team, that 92 team. Okay. How stacked we were. I had the, Pat Smith, I had the John Smith poster on my room when I was a kid. And that's back when it was 10 weight classes, but we've come a long way, I'd say, the last couple of years. We went a little bit of a down period, I'd say. So why don't you talk to me about the rise of USA Wrestling and, your thoughts on that and what we can do to keep this momentum going?
I think it's going to be easy to keep the momentum going. I think it's a combination of things. When we went to the model of the RTCs, I think that was very, very big. And at that time, you got to remember, everybody kind of split off and went, stayed with their universities, and then they started training to train together. Back in the day, we would only get together at the Olympic Training Center. Like when you made the world team, you go out there for 2 weeks at a time, go home 2 weeks at a time, and then go overseas and compete. Now you've got guys at these RTCs that, some of them are 120 miles apart from each other that are training together. But I do not see us dropping off anytime soon. And I really, truly attribute that to what's going on at the club level. I think these kids are coming out of that club level, when they're in high school, that they are absolute animals already.
Established wrestlers, man.
There you go. I mean, you look, you look at Gross taking a loss to a high school kid to Valencia, at the U.S. Open. So I think that we're not going to drop off anytime soon. USA Wrestling's made it very important that our U16 team is traveling overseas and getting the competition. Our U20 team is kicking butt. Our U23 team's getting experience now. So I think that we're going to continue to dominate. I think we've got the right model. We've caught the Russians, and I think that it's just going to be from we're the feared ones now, not the Russians and the Iranians anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think getting here was tough, but now I think we're here, and I think it's going to keep going. And a lot of high school kids qualified for the Olympic trials, which was pretty impressive, right? So let's talk about dual meets. I know you're gearing up for some, Chris, out in Virginia, right? Virginia Duel's coming up. What are your thoughts on dual meets, and what are your thoughts on possibly having a dual meet national championship?
Did old Goodale make this question? Did Goodale call this one in?
Nah, yeah, he
No,
loves
He's
it.
all
He
over
loves
Twitter
it.
right now.
We did
He's,
ask him. We did ask him too.
He's all over it, right? But no, listen, I'm a dual meet guy. You know, I love the dual meet. When you put 5,000 people in your arena, and you know, the dual meet comes down to a guy ranked 57th versus a guy that's ranked 77th, right? It's a pretty cool atmosphere. It is what the sport's about. Now, I know that we can never mess around with our individual national tournament. That's the best. But would I like to see like a national dual meet? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because I was just talking, we were in the office today talking about this, you know, the national dual meet. You know, it forces a school to recruit a little different. You know, you can go out and recruit 5 hammers or 4 hammers and finish in the top 5 in the country at your individual national tournament, right? But can you take that team and go win 15 dual meets and win the national dual meet championship, right? I don't know. So I'm in favor. I'd like to see a dual meet championship. I know that we're, you know, at the University of Wisconsin, we'd be in it every year, you know, and would support it 100%. But I wouldn't want to ruin our, you know, our NCAA championship individually. So I love the dual meet, man, and I support my man Goody. I would definitely be right behind him trying to get this national dual meet championship off the ground, and I'd be the first team to sign up for it.
Well, he's definitely making the case, as you say. He's been all over it this week. And not to belabor it, but I think the key thing is when you're talking about, I mean, the term today is grow the sport, which is the irony is that I think we haven't been better at the national stage. But you think about a school like Rutgers in New Jersey, and yes, wrestling is really big in this state. But there's a lot of people have come out who were not wrestling fans, okay? They had football season ticket holders, okay? There's about 5 or 6 people who sit on the floor at Rutgers matches who didn't even get into wrestling until 5 years ago. They got such jazzed up going to these matches, and it's such an exciting environment that we're pulling in people, okay, for collegiate wrestling matches who probably didn't even know what a 2-point takedown was or a 3-point takedown now 5 years ago. So to me, I think if you want to grow this, if you want to get people excited, you want people to put on ESPN Big Ten. If all you're doing is saving for March, it's really going to limit how much exposure that the casual or non-wrestling fan really has to the sport.
So let's go back a little bit, right? Us as coaches have a responsibility, and we all use the word grow the sport, but we have a responsibility to be the promoter, the marketer, you know, everything, and that's what I am. At South Dakota State, we had a 6,000 seat, 5,000 seat gym, and we had 6,500 people in there, right? Because I went out of my way to go promote. I mean, I had people that had never seen a wrestling match in 30 years showing up to wrestling matches because they bought into Chris Bono, John Reeder, and the South Dakota State Jackrabbit. They knew nothing about wrestling, right? Us wrestling coaches at these bigger schools sit back and like say, fans, just show up. You know what I mean? And then you go there. There's no music in the arena. The environment stinks. The kids can't eat popcorn, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we are responsible. If we go and, you know, you come to one of our dual meets, the music's loud, you know, the lights are going, they're shutting off, the kids are running out, right? You got kids spilling Dippin' Dots on the mat. They're on the mat. It's a show, right? And that's where we don't have a halftime because I think that it drags it on too long. I want to get the people in. I want to get the people out, you know, until we start selling booze in there. Then we'll have 2 or 3 half times so people can go back and forth. But we've got a responsibility as to put on a show so people will like the dual meet.
Final question. There's rumors going around. That you come to Jersey and you go to these golf outings and Goody, someone saying Goody blew it on the back 9. What do you think about the truth of those rumors?
Listen, here's the truth. Goody and I are the reigning and defending champions of the National Wrestling Coaches Association golf outing down in Fort Lauderdale. All right. We all joke around with Goody. The dude can play golf. You know, he can play golf. And I don't know if there's 2 people out there too on another coaching staff that can beat Goody and I when we're on. So he can play golf. We've got the trophy to prove it. It's in my office. I should bring it on. But I do got to get on him a little bit about the short game. Sometimes I got to keep him. I got to keep him, focused sometimes on the short game.
Yeah, short game definitely needs work, I hear. But
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. Kinder's got a great idea. You can tell him, Kinder, we're trying to come out there to Trump National. Kinder's going to get some Trump National for a tournament.
That's right. So I actually want to start with these guys, coaches, like an annual coaches golf outing. It's just going to be strictly coaches, and each coach can get their respective schools to donate. People will donate, raise some things. Even if we get, say, 30 coaches to do it, they raise $1,000. It's a $30,000 purse. Winner gets that purse. Do a nice little annual golf outing every year. It can go to the respective schools, or you do, say you get that bills to 50. Now they raise $2,000. That's $100,000. And it's not really that hard to raise $2,000 for your school program. And you put it up there. First place gets a certain amount. Second place gets a certain amount. And now we're raising money for wrestling.
Nice. Not a bad idea. Let's get it going. Well, listen, guys, this has been great. Keep following us, guys. Follow the show.
Hey, we don't want to leave yet. I want to know what's the best pizza joint out there in Jersey, because I got my opinion.
You got your opinion.
I got my Angelo's over here. Angelo's is good down here. What do you think, Kinder? You got some good ones down the
I probably Naples around here, but that's like the buffalo chicken and the chicken parm pies. You got the Nino's, that's pretty good. I feel like lately the pizzas, some restaurants are a little slacking. We got Brooklyn Square. That's a Mark Henry. That's a Frankie Egger guy. He's got some decent pizza out there.
What about the Sawmill? With the Sawmill's my spot.
Boardwalk pizza.
That's a good one.
I mean, you after a few drinks, the boardwalk pizza gets tasty. But I'll mess with the Sawmill. You got some big slices.
That's it.
That's Seaside's my spot.
They're good. They're good. What about you, Eric, up in North Jersey? Where do you go?
Well, I lived in Hoboken for 6 years, and I mean that was the cream of the crop of pizza. You pick your joint. And I got to go back to Rutgers, and it's probably the worst pizza, but it's the best pizza at 3 a.m. was Pizza City. I don't know if you remember that.
Pizza City, dollar slice.
That brings back
dollar slice. You know what? That's what I'm going with. I'm going
Canyon.
Pizza City. End of deal. I had the best times eating that pizza in New Brunswick. We'll go with that. #1 pizza joint in New Jersey. Bono, great having you on. Good luck at your duels. We'll be following you through the run for a year. Kinder, the Scramble. Keep that going, guys. Follow the Scramble. I need to buy one of those shirts. Let me know.
I'm gonna get some gear going. We have to run a store, but that's gonna be coming soon. I got some things in the works. So
nice. And hey, we're out of here.
Thanks, boys.
Here, boys. Thank you. I'll talk to you, Coach.